was probably one of his most, I'm going to say challenging, but I don't think you think of it in that sense. But it's definitely there's a diverse range. At the end of it, he's bald and decrepit, and this was done before his Charles role. So clever, whether or not he. Because on this, it's quite emaciated on some parts of this as well. So it's one of those. Who did it as well? Somebody else lost loads of weight to be. It's clever when they do that. I'm doing the same thing as I was talking about this morning with the responsive thing. I'm trying to just get the. This is it, by the way, just in case you've not seen the reference yet. So it is, and I tell you one thing about the painting side of it that I do like is that the level of response that you get with the fact that you can't make marks of a certain certainty, and they're all a little bit vague. That's a lovely thing because it almost like releases you from the pressure. So, which is why I think painting from afar and with the end of the brush. I was at a demo the other week, and there were people in there painting, and they were doing this with the brush. Right, they were doing this with the brush, and I said, "You're holding the brush far too close to its, to the ferrule, and you need to hold it closer to the end, and particularly when you're starting out. Not necessarily so much when you're near the end of it, when you're getting into the sort of detail of things, but certainly in the early stages." It's no good being that. It's the thing about the observation. I tell you, it's so. And we're going to do it tomorrow night. Actually, the types of observation, but it's such a powerful thing. I tell you, it will change the way that you do this. The way you draw and where you paint will change once you understand the differences between the different types of observation, how they impact on what you do. I just wanted to get this to be something like, and then I can fix things. One of the things that I'm moved to do with this is because of this was him being, I think he was a slave of some kind. So it was being mistreated, and because apparently he was really strong. I don't know, in that story you read it when he lifted a because of this. I don't think he was strong because of this experience. He worked in a mine or something, and then when he became a gentleman, he rescued somebody by lifting a cart, and someone recognised him because of that. And that's the story I can remember anyway. And so it's that feeling that I'm trying to connect with, and I'm tempted with it because it's sort of, there isn't any blood anywhere, but there's this on this bit down here under his beard. It's a kind of a bloody kind of brown. So there's bloody yellow, sort of orangey tinges in there. The same on this side as well. So it's that I'm focusing on. Now, I've done that, and that was the responsive. I'm still in the responsive phase, so I'm still going to just I'm going to go with darker, a bit more burnt umber, basically. I've been tempted not to use burnt umber recently, but this is one of those occasions where it's going to suit it to do it in burnt umber because of the ultimate colour of it. You know, the end when it ends up will be in this burnt umber range. So as I said, I was tempted not to do it, but it just seemed right. But so I'm going darker in these places because I want to get the. I just want to ensure that one thing in particular is this. The other side of his nose. When we come down from the eye into the sort of the bottom of the nose, it's quite high up. Is that? If I don't get that high enough, it won't feel as though he's looking down, and that's the vibe. He's actually looking down on us. Not too bothered about the detail of it at this stage, just getting that general shape in there. It's a problem because I've got the microphone wire hanging right over the top of the palette. So sometimes I clamp the palette to the bottom of the easel, but not today. I suspect this is probably going to be a lot more of the big brush and very little of the little brushes. It's got that kind of feeling about it that I'm not going to be. The other thing about these kind of drawings, when there's lots of silhouette shapes, is that it's not long before you're into the, the recognizable territory of what it's meant to be, simply by following the silhouettes of the shapes. The main thing at the moment is the upwardness, if you like, the top of the face. And that's the main thing at the moment. I'm going to now sort of dip into some colour on this, and I'm going to use the alizarin crimson, I think, for this. But actually, it's not alizarin crimson. This is Indian red. But I'm just going to do it because I've not got any on the palette at the moment. I'll put some on in a minute, but alizarin crimson. But this will be all right for now. I just want to make sure that the head is far enough back. This here. I'm going to put that the white back into that there in a minute, in the top of the nose. But I'm not sure I'm going to do it with titanium just at this moment. It's a bit too soon. It's a bit before when I get to committing to using titanium white, it's going to be a problem that's everything's going to get milky, and I'm not at that stage yet. I don't want it to be milky. I'm going to go and get some raw sienna for this. A little bit of mixing on the canvas as well, I think, here as well. So, and I'm feeling that it should be a more aggressive kind of. It's like, when you watch somebody like, I don't know, what's his name, Arthur Gunn, right? You watch how carefully he applies the paint and how precise he is in his application. And I'm looking at him thinking, I wish I could do that. It's like, because when it comes to doing stuff like this, I'm full on Neanderthal when it comes to applying the paint, whether it's my son is making something in aluminium. Don't ask me what, but that's what he's doing. We are a proper creative. I would say industry. We're not industry. We're a proper creative. I can't think of the word. It's a bit like, you know, when that guy did the what do they call him? The wallpaper guy, British. Him. All right. He got a cooperative. That's what I'm thinking of. A proper. We're like a cooperative, and we're everybody's doing something. You know, the wife will be upstairs making something fashion, you know, related. And Jackson will be either painting or writing his book or making music. And so that's how our family is. Isn't that wonderful? You know, I'm, you know, it was never deliberate. I just really didn't want them to be. I just didn't really want them to go down this torturous route. And if they did, I've done everything in my power to make sure it's not kind of a negative journey that I suffered. See, I'm happier to use a thinned down version of the colours than add white to it. There'll be some point where I've got to add white to it. I can't get around that. But until that point, it's going to be just thin layers of paint, you know, thin washes almost. It's kind of like watercolour painting in a way, but no. There are times like this when I don't have the I can't get back to white with that. So and this, I suppose, is the point at which I'm going to switch from responsive to deliberate observation. See that part of his nose there, which I can't get to white now because it's committed. I can only get the colours around the surrounding colours, and I'll come back with white, and white will be the colour that I do it. So I've got things roughly where they are. They're not dark enough. That's going to come down. The shape of that as it comes down there needs to be more defined. This is going to be the French ultramarine and the burnt umber to get to a dark brown. I'm going to make it lean a little bit towards the red. So I'm putting it's almost like purple. I quite like the idea of it being purple for obvious reasons, but yeah, it's that I'm after. So that's coming. So now the shapes are now quite important. The accuracy of the shapes are important just because I need to. I need to get it to feel right. Nice, because of the canvas is still wet with paint prior to this. There's a nice sort of bleed of the colours from one to the other. You know, where the edges of the boxes are, the edges of the shapes are. Plus the fact the brush is pretty rubbish. So I've just seen Aldo Baldwin, and he's an amazing painter. Amazing. I've just seen him talking about brushes, and I'm thinking, Aldo, and I've talked to him a few times about I'd love to go on his courses, I'd love to go on his retreat things he does. I said to him, Aldo, I can't because I ain't got that many brushes. and I'd be embarrassed by all the other people that came along that got proper brushes, and there'd be me there with the decorators' brushes, and I'd be just, I'd feel completely overwhelmed by other people's equipment. I'd have equipment envy. so I can't. Plus, I couldn't afford to go on this expensive to go on his courses, so which is a good enough reason really not to go on them. But I'd love to. It'd be amazing. The places he holds these in France, south of France, I think it is, are incredible. You know, I said to him, these are amazing. I don't know whether or not it's his place. I did ask him, and he was a bit. He didn't say yes or no. He just said, I'm very lucky. And I thought, well, what does that mean? It could mean that it is his place, and he's a lucky showing himself if it is. But you see, he did what I did. He did worked in the commercial world and made the transition, if you like. Which explains a lot about, if you look at his work, it explains why his work is the way it is, because it's still very much a commercial kind of, his subjects are very commercial. But as I said, it's, I just think sometimes people, it's not meant to be, you know, I'm meant to be stuck in this little wooden shed at the bottom of my garden. And that's it. And I said this morning with the live, it's I can't. I look at what I've done. You know, like somebody was talking about, you know, I've done this for decades and all that, and obviously I'm not. But when I look at what I've done over these last 4 years, it just seems unbelievable. You know, the amount that I've done, in particular, that's what I'm referring to. It's not, you know, how far I've come and so on and so forth. It's just this. So I'm just trying to sort my. Now I'm definitely in the deliberate stage now. It's funny, but having just started talking about this particular approach to observation, it just seems how appropriate and how it kind of explains everything is such an obvious thing now. I think if anything, if I was going to do any more courses, I mean, obviously mindset is the big thing, but the other thing then is that the way that you see, because it's going to be the way that you respond, and I think that would be a real. If I do any more courses, I think they're going to be around the 3 ways of seeing, and how that then affects everything else, because that's you know, once you understand that, everything else changes. You know, why you do it and the way you do it and all those sort of things, and what you've got to learn to do it, and if you've got to learn to do it, all those things change when you understand about the ways of seeing. I'm not quite into the accuracy of these things yet, so at the moment it's still going to be fairly loose and to some extent a little wrong. Densities aren't right. You know, this here, that's not the right density. I mean, it's in the right vein. This is probably the density we need to be at, but it's not. I'm not there yet. So the other thing is well is with the beard, how much of it is going to be white paint? If I can get away with no white paint, then that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be all varying degrees of this sepia tone, I suppose. But what's nice about it now, this is, if you look at some sergeants' work, you see how bad that, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see how bad that brush is. It's not a pointer brush at all. But what happens is that you get this blending capability from a brush like this. It's not really. I'm trying to find something with a bit of a point on it. It's not really a precise line thing. If you look at some of the marks that Sargent made, there were, say, on fabric and things like that, there were lines that were very broken lines. If you look at some of them, and that broken line thing is because it creates a, around the edges of things. There's a bit of a meeting of tones that is softened by these. You can see it on a lot of, you'll see it on Zorn painting as well. I'm pretty sure they'd have had good brushes available to them at the time, but they chose not to use the good brushes and went with these brushes that would break up and make these broken lines. And I think that's probably what they did. They were aware of what was happening, and so consequently they kind of plugged into that thing and allowed it to be part of their style or whatever you want to call it. But and the other thing about it is, if you're doing that kind of thing, drawing is at the heart of it. It's not because we're not talking about colouring in, like I was talking about this morning with the guy that was just colouring in the lines. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the process of drawing from the get-go, and the right way through it as well, because that's a big thing. To draw all the way through something is what we're aiming for, not stop drawing and start painting. That's what a lot of people do, is to stop drawing and start painting. And the so far, still got to get the densities right, but so far I've not had the need for white. Might be tempting fate when I'm saying that, but so far the distance of things is what, and the shape of things is what's currently got my focus. It's not. So it's this here. You see how this sort of comes down here, and then it's there. It's those distances there. The eye, that eye there, that has to come quite a way up, like that, and then into there. So it's this distance here that's the, again, the focus. The eye does come quite high, and then it's got some kind of definition of the lid in there. Whether I'm going to be able to do it or not, another matter. I don't have the brush to do that. We'll try. We try and do it, and then I might have to put it back in again afterwards. But I'll do it with white. Not bad. But it's going to come white back into there. Yeah, it's better for that. Let me just pour. I've just got straight terps on this, so I'm going to just try and. There you go. Put those two back in like that, and let it dry a bit, and I'll square it off. Okay. Yeah. So the danger we're seeing that's happening now is that the little brush is starting to become part of the process, and it then starts to become more, as I said before, the deliberate stuff comes into play. So I'm going to go back to the bigger brush, and it's just blue with some of the brown still in it. No, it needs to be fairly wet because I'm going to be trying to create this fuzziness. The fuzziness thing is probably going to be better if I use an even bigger brush, because I'm still doing it. See, I'm doing it now. I'm trying to draw it, and it's not. It doesn't want that. It doesn't want that at all. All this down here needs to be a big brush, probably bigger than what I've got. And this one might be. I'm going to try it with this one. It's quite a big brush, or I might do it with this one. I think I'll do it with the big one. I just want to put the overall into it, the overall colour. So I'm going to the overall colour on this one, the mid colour, I suppose, is going to be predominantly yellow ochre with a touch. Oh, sorry, yellow ochre or raw sienna, whichever is your preference. And it's got a pinky tinge to it. It's not unlike that. So, but I'm going to get this in and get some more red into it. It's not pink enough. And then thin enough. Really. Let me get this. Let me get this in here. Right, probably not quite right, that, you know. It might be all right. It depends. Let's just get that in there like that, and then we can I can worry about it once it's in. It's just if not, I'd end up trying to paint that. I mean, all this is going to be blue and dark down here, but I'd end up trying to paint that, and I don't want to get into painting it. You know, with sort of lines and things. So the shape way it comes down here, and it's sort of like that, and then his shoulders down here. So yeah, that'll do for the sort of basic first pass. All of this is going to be, I'm better off with a big brush with this actually. All of this is going to be have the blue in it, and I'm going to come back with the blue now, because, and all this blue here, there's a middle of it there, and I might have to let this dry a bit because it's still a bit. Although having it wet like this and then putting the blue into it, it's killing that redness, which is what I want. I need it to be ready yellow kind of thing in there, but not. And then there's as it comes up here, there's going to be white into that. So whether or not I have to resort to using white, I don't know yet. It doesn't really matter at the moment. Yeah, let me see this down here. This is that sort of mucky grey, sandy colour with a bit of blue in it, and that's killing all the. Then the bottom of his beard is this almost black blue thing, which is underneath here. So it's literally down there like that. Probably going to have to come back with the dark when it dries a bit. I'll come back with the the dark to get this really dark down here. I'm going to try and simulate some kind of hair on the bottom there. I'm just going for the big, that you can just about see the various darker parts within the beard. That's what I'm trying to get to, and without it being too the way that the way that it's drawn. I don't want to get too like that just at this point, because it's not really time to do that yet. I'm still really in the response end of this, and get the I might get away with using no white at all on this, which would be wonderful. Got to keep the brush clean though to do that, to be able to wipe away the colours that are there. It's got to be clean. I tell you what, I never usually prime a canvas beforehand. If I do, it's not necessarily a primary intention. It might be a consequence of something else I've done, and because it's primed, it's not drying that quick, which is working in my favour to do these wipeaways. This taking away with a brush on it, a brush with terps on it, if I can say it. So it's working in my favour, that, and but it wasn't an intention. I didn't think, if I do that, I can do this. I'm sure Arthur Gunn would have thought of it, but I'm not. I'm not in that. Aldo Bowling, I'm not in their league. It's like, it's. I look at Andrew Tischler as well. Look at what they do, and it's or Cesar Santos. We look at what they do, and it's just mind blowing stuff. But on the other flip side of that, I've got no intention of wanting. I don't want to do that. No intention of doing that. I think that's the truth of it. I'm not moved to want to be able to paint like that. It does not interest me at all. They spend too long on things, and it's too much of a faff half the time what they do. And I'm thinking, I'll be getting up and walking away. But having said that, as I say, they produce some amazing work. But each their own, I suppose. So I gotta get more into that beard. You can see how the beard's not quite voluminous enough. Down this side, in particular, down here, I probably ought to put the background in as well, for that to get the proper scale of things. I'm going to put his ear in there. I don't expect much with this ear, because it's just going to be a bit of pink on the ear there, and no white just yet. I'm toying with the idea of using a smaller brush just to do it, but I quite like this brush here for it comes quite low down. It's like there. Yep. And then underneath there, we'll come back to that in a minute. And this is even lower. This is like down here. It's there. Right. The pink could probably, while I've got it on the brush, could infiltrate a little bit into here, I suppose. Maybe on the top of there, but not. Be careful with that. Not that much. It's got a little bit of a more pink, but this brush is not capable of doing that. And then obviously the lip, which is pink either side and white in the middle. I might have to resort to using white on that, but background is the next thing. I think that's probably going to give me the full Monty, if you like. I'm looking what colour. You know, this is going to be lots of blue, I think. Lots of blue, and we'll see. It's green. If you look on the reference, it's very green. But again, I can use the. So I'm just making sure I get there right. You know, this distance here and the way that it sort of inclines up to there and then down. Always a problem with ball people is the way that the shape of the head, because they're so different with different people. It's always different, and yeah, I quite like this. I'm going to say washy effect, but it's not really it's more translucent. You know, when you put in the paint on with lots of thinners in it, I quite like that. I like it because it gives it a, you know, this sort of depth of range of colours. It's going to have to be. The thing at the moment is it's getting a bit too all blue, all brown. And I'm going to have to put a little bit of. I don't know what you can see there, but I can't really see much there. The reflection of the thinners is getting in the way of what I'm seeing. In fact, I might just tilt the thing away from the light. The problem with the lights above, it's not much better. The problem with the lights above is that no, that's better for me. I don't know if it's any better for you. Well, that's a lot better for me. The problem with lights shining on directly on it, you get that glare into it, and I can't see anything. I'm putting all the colours into this because I don't want it to be all blue. At the top of this corner, if you'll see on the reference, on the top of there, it's there's some ochres and things in there, but I'm going to just use that. I'll just move get some paint out. Sorry, and put some. I can get to it. Yeah, I'll get to the yellow ochre, and then I thought I had enough on the palette, not clearly not. This is just cheap stuff from that one, Stacker, and it's the Great Arts thing. They make their own, so it seems to be good. Seems to be all right. I'm not really an expert connoisseur on paint, so I wouldn't know if it's good or bad. It's not. I've had real cheap stuff, and it tends to be a little bit too translucent, or medium and not paint. You know, not enough pigment in it, and but this seems to be fine. I'm just adding that to that blue. You know, it's just giving it that little bit more. Let me just get my eye in so I can see where everything should be. I'm just checking the distances down here, and then yeah, I'm gonna come back and sort that edge out because it's not drawn right. But putting the background in is whether or not it's the right background at this stage is not important. But putting the background is just helped me to see the shapes a bit better. This bit here, you see this bit here, this is kind of hidden into it becomes part of the background. So I don't need. There are times when I don't really need to be definition around things. It's just that thing, you know, that thing about getting the the hair in, so you can see if you know the larger shapes in, so you can see by comparison with the rest of the shapes are in the right sort of ballpark at least. It's that. So I've got a problem now with, as you can see, the pointiness of the head. It's got to come sort of more up there like that, and the same on this side as well. We'll do that, and then I can come back with a bit of terps on it just to knock it back. Just more, I think, more of the same. More as it comes further down. Well, it's just a dark. This side at the bottom down here is really blue down this down here, so it's just as dark down there. But it's just going to give me that edge, you know, the edge that sort of comes from the sweep down there. It's just going to give me that edge to work to for the edge of the beard, and the ear is tiny, so I'm just going a bit too much over with that. That's going to come into there, and it's lost on there. So there's nothing there. There's no definition between the cheek and the background. And then as it comes underneath there, all this is dark under here, so as you can see, I'm going to try and try and get that in as dark. As I come back to this, I'll probably be able to get the darkest, you know, get it darker anyway. The other thing is this distance, roughly where does this shoulder start to yeah, I think it's a little bit lower than that, you know. Yeah, it's definitely lower than that. As the beard is all this here is the beard, and distances there are giving me this kind of reading here. The beard is quite, or the shoulder is quite low down. Yeah, about there, I think. And steep as well. And then up there. So I think it looks about right. I'm going to just put this this darkness in here, and then see if we can maybe get this a little bit more accurate down there. We've got some edges to worry about down here as well, the edge of the, which I'm probably going to come back with the a brush and the terps on it. I think that's probably how I'm going to do it. This one's the same. Again, it's a little bit inconsistent, you know. The having it thin as well helps that for it to be a bit more atmospheric. I think that's the right way to describe it. What I'm going to do next is, because of the I've now got, this is the reason why I've done this. I put the bigger shapes on so I can see whether or not things look right. And I can see that things don't look right. I'm going to now try and, you know, size-wise, I can start from the top really. It doesn't, you know, quite feel right at the top there. I can now start to put, and I'm still using the big brush as well, which is a good sign. But I can put the, you know, the darker bits in it as well. So increase the size of these large shadow areas. And because it's got that, the remnants of the, you know, the drawing elements at the beginning and then into the darker tones, because those are still in there, it's almost giving it a blended effect, you know, at the edges of these shapes. Very reminiscent of a, you know, a traditional kind of painting and, you know, one of these narrative type of things. So this bit across the top there is white highlighting his hair, but if I use a dry brush on it, I can get a similar effect. There's also white coming into there, and there's white on that one as well there. So I'll do that with just some tips on the brush again, just to get these bits here. Again, this is one of those situations where it's all about suggestion and implication. I'm going to get the other brush because this is a little bit too fragmented. Yeah, so this is implication suggestion thing going on here, and I can not worry too much about the whole thing. Is, if I'm honest, is implication and suggestion. It's not really a. You could probably draw it, paint it in a realistic way, spend a few days on it or something, but it's not really that kind. It doesn't have that vibe, does it? It's more of it's definitely something of a spontaneous response thing, and it's got to have that almost like earthy and expressive feeling about it. It wants that kind of approach. Hang on a minute, let me just get all these working a bit better. This is a mess there, you can see that. It's not. And I'm just going to get some blue and come back into that, the bluey grey into there. I'm not going to get proper white out of this. There's no way I'm going to get it to be a hard white on the edges, but I can get near enough and then come back with the white at the end. So all the way through this, there's been no infection of white. For me, that's the goal. I think it's if I can avoid it being infected. So this is probably going to be one of those occasions where I'm going to have to put white onto this. So I'm getting near enough with this by wiping it off, but I'm definitely going to have to put white into that. Just need to kill that. Here, just too dark. Dark, but not that dark. I'm not going to be able to resist using the white for things like this. I can't really get away with it. It's going to be definitely one of those compromise things, I think. But I'm going to hold out as much as I can. You can see why I use cheap brushes now, because I'm really hammering this brush. I'm not sure good brushes would put up with this. These cheap ones don't put up with it. So imagine a good brush. I'd be reluctant to do it anyway with this kind of almost like a scumbling thing. It just would be a torture for a good brush, I would think. You know, you're going to ruin a brush. You do this with it. So it's whether I get that darker down the bottom, and is it just dry enough to do it now? I'm going to do the same thing that I do with a little brush, but with a big brush now, just to get these scumbly marks. I think it will be. I mean, it's never going to be completely black, so I'm not going to try and do that in here. So it'd be crazy to try. I can see through it anyway, so I can see the different levels of tone, and I can see the different colours that are in it. So it does have a definite, and there's a shadow here. But I think the extremities of the beard are defined by the white marks that are coming through, which I can do again with the white, with the terp loading brush. But this bit will be putting paint onto it, and Yeah. And then it's, I say they're odd. You can't really, I can't paint the exactness of a beard, but you can just get the impression of a beard. That's the thing. It's like, this is probably the ultimate in suggestion or implication, is to draw a beard, because that's exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to suggest and imply the people that do the every hair thing. That's a proper skill. That's not something I've got time or patience for, but that's what people do, So as I said, it's not my thing, really. And I'd probably come at this for a while, just getting everything to be just so, the beard part of it, just making sure that it's just getting the right kind of, there's enough of a suggestion in there to give it the volume and the, the right size. I'm somewhat convinced it's the right size, but I think once you get the white bits into that, and I'm going to try and do it with just terps and a thin brush to try and get the rather than resorting to the using the white. I'm going to try and do it with this if I can. See, it comes quite far down, so it's almost as down to his shoulder where the where these highlights are. So if I can just get those, I might have to come back and obliterate some and what have you. But if it's because it doesn't get it on the first stroke, it gets it on the second stroke. So the first stroke just softens the paint, and the next stroke just is what takes away. You see this bit here. This is quite a long way down here. That one there, and then. The brush is probably a little bit too soft for doing this. It's almost like it wants to be, I think it probably wants to be smaller and a little bit harder. So it takes away a bit more than a soft mark. few more of these could be a little bit lighter, I think, down the bottom there, and a little bit further down. This one, it's definite. The furthest down there is a very highlighted, a very shiny little highlight. It's in there that just gives you the full extent of the beard. Yeah. Same with this side. I don't know whether or not this is going to be the background here is going to be any darker. Just there, I'm not sure yet. Could have put the pink on the shoulders while that's drying off a bit. Or the off-white. It's not really pink. It's just going to be. Get the brush right. Not a right brush, I don't think. Yeah, it was this clean one. Yeah, still no white in this. So there is this pinky tinge that comes down there, and it sort of comes up there, and then we've got there some of the yeah. I'll leave it at that and let some of this, see this white that's showing through here, I'll let that, which I've lost now, I'll let that create there you go. And then this side has got that, I say that, I was talking about when I first started, that almost blood edge to it, you know, the dirt and whatever makeup they've got on him. So what I mean, every mark, every bit of dirt that's on him is going to be painted on, I would have thought, by the makeup artist. I think the this could be a little bit steeper, and I'll affect that with the background. I'll make the background a little bit more it's funny, I have that temptation to touch it like I do with the charcoal. And I do sometimes touch this as well when it's not quite right. I'll touch it, but I'm just cleaning the turps. Not too worried about those shoulders, to be quite honest with you, because it's not important. It's one of those, you know, is it important? No, it's not. The only thing I think is, and it's gonna unfortunately have to happen, is the highlight on his forehead needs to be really quite bright, but I can't get away from that. This is clean terps that I'm using now, which is helping. It helps to you know, bring that a little bit of intensity to it, but it's not going to do. I don't think it'll do it on the forehead. Yeah, clean terps on there might help me to put a few more of these lighter, you know, these sort of things. I mean, I might on here as well end up doing the using the white on there, but it's at the end. It doesn't matter. It's not going to infect all the other stuff. This is the point. It's a bit like the painting, drawing through the different kinds of observation. It's a little bit like that. I can't spoil it because by letting the white infect all of the colours, because it's too late. I've painted it. I'm just going to use white for the highlight. I did see somebody talking about this exact same thing, to save the titanium to the very end, so he could get the intensity. I think that's what his motives were, so you get the intensity of the white on it, which is a similar thing to what I'm saying. But my concern is just the way that white infects everything and affects everything. That's the only reason I don't like to use white. It just creates a milkiness of things. So yeah. So many, as I say, many of these highlights that should be in there might well end up being white, just because it'll, as I say, just bring that final lift to it. So yeah, I think that's about it. I would say, looking at it now, just give it an hour to dry off a bit, because it's nearly all term, so it won't take long. And I'm just going to put a bit more into there, make that darker, make that more bluer in places. And actually, this brush, with it being so big and a couple actually, which is a rubbish brush, and it's very hard. This one might be ideal for putting the whites in. He says, "Oh yeah, it is, yeah." So that's a good one for doing that. Ish, but it certainly makes them thinner anyway. So I haven't got the big. Yeah, and it's good for that. It's giving me some good sort of scratchy kind of marks there. I remember seeing, I don't think it was Andrew Tishon, I think it was somebody else, but the cutting the brushes, the cheap brushes, and cutting them to make more brush-like, beard-like or hair-like effects. But I think that's when you're putting paint on. I'm not really putting any paint onto this. In fact, there's very little paint be used in the whole thing from start to finish. So I don't think it'd work if I was trying to do that. So yeah, leave it and let it dry off a bit, and I'll just come back and touch up the bits that need to be touched up with white, and the darker bits that just need a little bit more definition. Yeah. Yeah. Got to get rid of some of these obvious marks. I don't know if you can tell with this, but there's a lot of marks are a bit too deliberate for it to feel like a beard. It's got a bit more spontaneity into it, and the marks are a little bit more random. Like I say, I think the best thing now is just let it dry, and then I'll just pick up the highlights. You see how this is looking very deliberate, and it doesn't need to. It doesn't want to look like that. It's a bit more sort of spontaneous and flowing. It's a bit too wet at the moment for me to do that, to fix that. And I think the main reason would be that it's just too clumpy. There's too much. There needs to be more definition of more graduation in some of the phases in the tones. So it's not so definite in terms of that's dark and that's light. It needs a bit more variance in it. I think that's I'm trying to say.